My fiancée left me for my brother on our wedding day. With my parents' support, best Reddit stories, on what was supposed to be the happiest day of his life. The protagonist found himself at the center of a shocking tale of betrayal that would forever alter his perception of family and love. As he stood at the altar, eagerly awaiting the arrival of his fiancée, a sense of joy and anticipation filled the air. He had envisioned this moment for years, dreaming of a future filled with love and companionship. However, unbeknownst to him, the day would soon unravel into a whirlwind of emotions that would challenge his understanding of loyalty and trust. His brother, who had always been his confidant and closest ally, played a pivotal role in this unfolding drama. The bond they shared was one of brotherhood, forged through shared experiences and mutual support. Yet, as the ceremony progressed, the protagonist began to sense an unsettling tension between his fiancée and his brother, a subtle undercurrent that hinted at something deeper and more troubling. The moment the truth was revealed, it shattered his world. The betrayal was not just a personal affront. It was a profound violation of the trust that had been built over years. The emotional impact of this revelation was devastating. The protagonist felt a whirlwind of emotions, anger, confusion, and heartbreak, as he grappled with the reality that the two people he loved most had conspired against him. This betrayal forced him to confront the fragility of relationships and the complexities of family dynamics. It was a painful awakening that left him questioning everything he thought he knew about loyalty and love. As he navigated through the aftermath of the wedding day, the protagonist was thrust into a journey of self-discovery and personal growth. He realized that the pain of betrayal could either consume him or serve as a catalyst for change. This pivotal moment in his life became a turning point, prompting him to reevaluate his relationships and the values he held dear. The themes of family loyalty and betrayal emerged as central to his experience, highlighting the intricate web of emotions that bind families together while also exposing the potential for deep-seated conflicts. The protagonist's journey was not just about healing from the betrayal. It was also about understanding the complexities of human relationships. He began to recognize that loyalty is not always straightforward, and that the people we trust the most can sometimes be the ones who hurt us the deepest. This realization sparked a desire for personal growth, pushing him to seek out new perspectives and redefine what family meant to him. As he moved forward, he learned to embrace vulnerability and open himself up to new connections, understanding that while betrayal can leave scars, it can also pave the way for resilience and strength. The wedding day, once envisioned as a celebration of love, transformed into a profound lesson about the intricacies of family dynamics and the importance of self-awareness. Ultimately, the protagonist emerged from this experience with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to forge a path that honored both his past and his future, forever changed by the shocking events that unfolded on that fateful day. As the wedding day approached, the protagonist was enveloped in a whirlwind of excitement and anticipation. He envisioned a beautiful ceremony filled with love, laughter, and the promise of a bright future alongside his fiancée, Alexandra. Every detail had been meticulously planned, from the floral arrangements to the carefully chosen venue, all reflecting their shared dreams and aspirations. He felt a sense of pride as he imagined standing at the altar, exchanging vows that would bind them together for life. However, beneath the surface of this joyous occasion, a nagging feeling of unease began to creep in. He brushed it aside, convincing himself that it was merely pre-wedding jitters. Little did he know that this day would not unfold as he had envisioned. On the morning of the wedding, as he prepared for the ceremony, the protagonist received an unexpected call from Alexandra. Her voice trembled with urgency, and he could sense that something was terribly wrong. As she spoke, his heart raced, and a sense of dread washed over him. Alexandra's words shattered his dreams in an instant. She confessed to having been in a relationship with his brother, Nathan, for months. The revelation struck him like a bolt of lightning, leaving him reeling in disbelief. How could the two people he trusted most betray him in such a profound way? The joyous occasion he had anticipated was now tainted by feelings of betrayal and heartbreak. In that moment, The protagonist felt as if the ground had been pulled from beneath him. The dreams he had built around their future together crumbled, replaced by a painful reality that he never saw coming. The emotional turmoil was overwhelming. He oscillated between anger, sadness, and confusion. How could Alexandra, the woman he loved, choose to be with his brother? And how could Nathan, his closest confidant, betray him in such a devastating manner? The weight of the betrayal was suffocating, and he struggled to comprehend the depth of their deception. As he grappled with the shocking revelation, he couldn't help but reflect on the role of their parents in this unfolding drama. Instead of supporting him during this tumultuous time, they had unwittingly fostered an environment where such betrayal could thrive. His parents had always encouraged close ties between the siblings, often praising Nathan for his charm and charisma, while overlooking the protagonist's feelings. This dynamic created a rift that allowed Nathan and Alexandra's relationship to flourish in secrecy. The protagonist felt a deep sense of betrayal not only from his fiancée and brother, but also from the very people who were supposed to guide and protect him. The realization that his parents had turned a blind eye to the brewing storm left him feeling isolated and abandoned. He longed for their support, but instead, he was left to navigate the emotional fallout alone. The wedding day, which should have been a celebration of love, had transformed into a painful reminder of betrayal and shattered dreams. As he stood on the precipice of this new reality, the protagonist was forced to confront the complexities of love, loyalty, and the painful truths that lay hidden beneath the surface of family dynamics. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but it was also an opportunity for growth and self-discovery in the wake of such profound betrayal. Growing up, the protagonist often felt like a shadow in the presence of his brother Nathan, who seemed to effortlessly bask in the glow of their parents' admiration. From an early age, it was clear that Nathan was the favored child, receiving praise and accolades for his accomplishments, while the protagonist's achievements were often overlooked or downplayed. This favoritism manifested in various ways, from the way their parents celebrated Nathan's successes to the subtle dismissals of the protagonist's efforts. Whether it was Nathan's impressive grades, his athletic prowess, or his charming personality, their parents never hesitated to highlight his accomplishments, leaving the protagonist feeling invisible and unworthy. The impact of this parental favoritism on the protagonist's self-esteem was profound. He grew up internalizing the belief that he was somehow less deserving of love and recognition, leading to a pervasive sense of inadequacy. While Nathan thrived under the spotlight, the protagonist struggled to find his own identity, often feeling like he was competing for scraps of affection and validation. This dynamic not only affected his self-worth, but also seeped into his relationships with peers and romantic interests. He often found himself second-guessing his abilities and fearing rejection, convinced that he would never measure up to the standards set by his brother. For instance, during family gatherings, the protagonist would watch as their parents beamed with pride over Nathan's latest achievements, whether it was winning a sports championship or receiving a scholarship. In contrast, when the protagonist earned a commendation for his artwork or excelled in a school project, the response was lukewarm at best. He vividly remembered a particular incident when he had worked tirelessly on a science fair project, only to have his parents brush it aside in favor of Nathan's recent victory in a regional soccer tournament. The sting of that moment lingered, reinforcing the notion that no matter how hard he tried, he would always be overshadowed by his brother's successes. As the years went by, the protagonist began to recognize the toxic family dynamics at play. He started to see how their parents' favoritism not only affected him, but also created a rift between him and Nathan. Instead of fostering a supportive brotherly bond, the constant comparisons and competition bred resentment and jealousy. The protagonist realized that Nathan, too, was trapped in this cycle, burdened by the expectations placed upon him. The pressure to maintain his status as the golden child often left Nathan feeling isolated and anxious, even if he outwardly appeared confident and successful. This awakening was both liberating and painful. The protagonist began to understand that the love and validation he sought from his parents were conditional, based on arbitrary standards that had little to do with his worth as an individual. He recognized that he had the power to redefine his self-esteem, independent of his parents' approval. This realization marked a turning point in his life, prompting him to seek healthier relationships and to embrace his own unique talents and passions. Ultimately, the protagonist's journey of self-discovery led him to confront the deep-seated issues within his family. He learned to navigate the complexities of sibling rivalry and parental favoritism, striving to break free from the chains of comparison that had long held him captive. In doing so, he began to forge a path toward healing, reclaiming his sense of self and redefining what it meant to be loved and valued, not just as Nathan's brother, but as his own person. In the aftermath of the wedding fiasco, the protagonist found himself at a crossroads, grappling with the emotional fallout of betrayal and the painful realization of toxic family dynamics. Determined to reclaim his life and heal from the wounds inflicted by those he once trusted, he embarked on a journey of self-discovery and recovery. The first step in this transformative process was to distance himself from his family and the toxic relationships that had long held him captive. He made the difficult decision to limit contact with Nathan and their parents, recognizing that their presence only served as a painful reminder of the betrayal he had endured. This decision was not made lightly, but he understood that in order to heal, he needed to create space for himself, free from the weight of their expectations and judgments. Relocating to Denver marked a significant turning point in his journey. The vibrant city offered a fresh start, a chance to redefine his identity away from the shadows of his past. In this new environment, he began to cultivate new friendships that were rooted in mutual respect and understanding. He sought out individuals who shared his interests and values, forming connections that were genuine and supportive. These friendships became a vital part of his healing process, providing him with a sense of belonging and community that he had longed for. Whether it was joining a local art group, participating in outdoor activities, or simply sharing meals with newfound friends, he discovered the joy of authentic relationships that encouraged him to be his true self. As he navigated this new chapter, the importance of therapy became increasingly evident. Recognizing that he needed professional guidance to process his emotions and experiences, he sought out a therapist who specialized in trauma and family dynamics. Through therapy, he was able to unpack the layers of pain and confusion that had accumulated over the years. The safe space provided by his therapist allowed him to explore his feelings of betrayal, anger, and sadness, helping him to understand the impact of his family's favoritism and the toxic patterns that had shaped his self-esteem. Therapy also equipped him with valuable tools to cope with the emotional challenges he faced. He learned techniques for managing anxiety and building resilience, empowering him to confront his fears and insecurities head-on. As he delved deeper into his past, he began to recognize the strength that lay within him, realizing that he was not defined by the betrayals he had suffered, but rather by his capacity to rise above them. This newfound perspective was liberating, allowing him to embrace his individuality and pursue his passions without the burden of comparison. Over time, the protagonist's journey of healing transformed into one of personal growth. He began to set boundaries in his relationships, ensuring that he surrounded himself with people who uplifted and supported him. The friendships he developed in Denver became a source of strength, reminding him that he was worthy of love and respect. He also discovered new interests and hobbies that reignited his passion for life. From painting to hiking, each activity serving as a reminder of his resilience and ability to thrive. Ultimately, the protagonist emerged from this tumultuous period with a renewed sense of self and purpose. The journey of healing was not linear, filled with ups and downs, but each step brought him closer to understanding his worth and reclaiming his narrative. He learned that healing takes time and effort, but with the right support systems in place, it is possible to rebuild a life filled with joy, authenticity, and meaningful connections. The wedding fiasco, once a source of pain, became a catalyst for transformation, propelling him toward a future defined by hope and resilience. After marrying Nathan, Alexandra believed she had found her happily ever after, but the reality of their life together soon proved to be far from the fairy tale she had envisioned. Initially, Nathan's charm and charisma had captivated her, drawing her into a whirlwind romance that felt exhilarating and fulfilling. However, as the honeymoon phase faded, Nathan's true nature began to emerge, revealing a side of him that was manipulative and controlling. The man she thought she knew transformed into someone who wielded his charm as a weapon, using it to manipulate not only her but also their child. In the early days of their marriage, Nathan's behavior seemed benign, but subtle signs of his controlling nature began to surface. He would often belittle Alexandra's opinions, dismissing her thoughts as trivial or misguided. This manipulation escalated over time, as Nathan increasingly dictated the dynamics of their household. He would make decisions without consulting her, undermining her role as an equal partner. Alexandra found herself walking on eggshells, constantly trying to appease Nathan's moods and whims, fearing the repercussions of any disagreement. The once vibrant and confident woman began to feel like a shadow of her former self, her self-esteem eroding under the weight of Nathan's controlling behavior. As their child entered the picture, the challenges intensified. Nathan's manipulative tendencies extended to parenting, as he often used their child as a pawn in his games. He would make promises to their child that he had no intention of keeping, only to later shift the blame onto Alexandra when things went awry. This behavior not only confused their child, but also left Alexandra feeling powerless and frustrated. She struggled to maintain a sense of stability for her child, while navigating the emotional turmoil that Nathan's actions created. The pressure of being a mother in such a toxic environment weighed heavily on her, as she grappled with the fear of how Nathan's behavior would impact their child's development. The emotional toll of living with Nathan's manipulative behaviors was profound. Alexandra often felt isolated and trapped, unable to confide in friends or family about the true nature of her marriage. She feared judgment and disbelief, worried that others would view her as weak for not being able to handle her situation. As the days turned into months, the weight of her circumstances became unbearable. The once bright spark in her eyes dimmed, replaced by a sense of hopelessness and despair. She longed for a way out, a glimmer of hope that would allow her to reclaim her life and protect her child from the toxic environment Nathan had created. In her darkest moments, Alexandra found herself pleading for help, both internally and externally. She began to seek support from online communities and local resources for women in abusive relationships, hoping to find solace and understanding. Through these connections, she discovered that she was not alone in her struggles, and many women had faced similar challenges. This realization sparked a flicker of courage within her, prompting her to consider the possibility of leaving Nathan and breaking free from the cycle of manipulation. Ultimately, Alexandra's journey became one of resilience and empowerment. She recognized that she deserved a life filled with love, respect, and safety, not the emotional turmoil that had become her daily reality. With each step she took towards seeking help, she began to reclaim her voice and her identity, determined to create a better future for herself and her child. The challenges she faced after marrying Nathan were daunting, but they also ignited a fire within her, a desire to break free from the chains of manipulation and build a life defined by strength and independence. As the protagonist settled into his new life in Denver, he found himself grappling with an internal conflict that weighed heavily on his heart and mind. News of Alexandra's struggles with Nathan reached him through mutual acquaintances, and the knowledge that she and their child were in a toxic environment stirred a complex mix of emotions within him. On one hand, he felt a deep sense of responsibility to help Alexandra and their child, driven by the remnants of love and care he still harbored for them. On the other hand, he was acutely aware of the moral implications of getting involved in a situation fraught with toxicity and manipulation. The protagonist wrestled with the idea of intervening in a family dynamic that had already caused him so much pain. He questioned whether stepping back into Alexandra's life would be a noble act of support or a reckless decision that could lead to further complications. The memories of betrayal and heartbreak from his past loomed large, reminding him of the emotional turmoil he had endured. He feared that by getting involved, he might inadvertently reopen old wounds, not only for himself but also for Alexandra, who had her own journey of healing to navigate. The moral dilemma of whether to prioritize his own well-being or to extend a helping hand to those in need created a profound internal struggle. Adding to this conflict was the fear of losing the hard-earned stability he had fought so hard to achieve. After distancing himself from his family and toxic relationships, the protagonist had finally begun to carve out a life that felt authentic and fulfilling. He had established a supportive network of friends and found solace in therapy, which had played a crucial role in his recovery. The thought of jeopardizing this newfound stability by re-entering a chaotic situation filled him with anxiety. He worried that the emotional weight of Alexandra's struggles could pull him back into a dark place, undermining the progress he had made in reclaiming his mental health. As he navigated these conflicting emotions, the protagonist sought counsel from friends and family, hoping to gain clarity on his potential involvement. The responses he received were varied and often polarized. Some friends urged him to reach out to Alexandra, emphasizing the importance of supporting someone in distress, especially given their shared history. They argued that he had a moral obligation to help, particularly for the sake of their child, who deserved a safe and nurturing environment. These friends painted a picture of heroism, suggesting that stepping in could be a chance for redemption and healing for both him and Alexandra. Conversely, other friends and family members cautioned him against getting involved. They highlighted the risks associated with re-entering a toxic family situation, warning that it could lead to further emotional turmoil and instability. They reminded him of the pain he had endured and urged him to prioritize his own well-being above all else. This perspective resonated with his fears, reinforcing the notion that he had worked too hard to rebuild his life to risk it all for a situation that could spiral out of control. Caught between these contrasting opinions, the protagonist felt paralyzed, unsure of which path to take. The weight of his internal conflict grew heavier as he contemplated the implications of his choices. Ultimately, he realized that the decision to help Alexandra and their child would require careful consideration, balancing his desire to support them with the need to protect his own mental health and stability. This internal struggle became a pivotal moment in his journey, forcing him to confront not only his feelings for Alexandra, but also the complexities of love, loyalty, and self-preservation. After much contemplation and grappling with his internal conflict, the protagonist ultimately made the difficult decision to report Nathan's abusive behavior to Child Protective Services (CPS). This choice was not made lightly. It was born out of a deep concern for Alexandra and their child, who were trapped in a toxic environment that threatened their well-being. The protagonist understood that while he had distanced himself from his family, he could not turn a blind eye to the suffering of those he still cared about. However, he also recognized the need to protect his own well-being in the process, which led him to choose to report Nathan anonymously. The rationale behind this decision was multifaceted. First and foremost, the protagonist feared the potential backlash from Nathan and the family if his identity were revealed. Given Nathan's manipulative nature, he worried that Nathan would retaliate against him, possibly even involving their parents in a way that could reignite old wounds and disrupt the stability he had worked so hard to achieve. By reporting anonymously, the protagonist could ensure that he remained safe from any repercussions while still taking a stand against the abusive behavior that was harming Alexandra and their child. This choice allowed him to act on his moral obligation without jeopardizing his own mental health or stability. In preparation for the report, the protagonist meticulously compiled evidence to support his claims against Nathan. He reached out to mutual acquaintances who had witnessed Nathan's manipulative and abusive behavior, gathering testimonies that painted a clear picture of the toxic environment Alexandra and their child were enduring. He documented specific incidents where Nathan had belittled Alexandra, manipulated their child, and exhibited controlling behaviors that raised red flags about his parenting. Additionally, he collected any available records of past incidents, including messages and social media posts that illustrated Nathan's volatile nature. This evidence was crucial in ensuring that the report would be taken seriously and that the welfare of Alexandra and their child would be prioritized. Once the report was submitted, the protagonist felt a mix of relief and anxiety. He knew he had done the right thing, but he also braced himself for the inevitable fallout. Nathan's immediate reaction was one of anger and denial. When he learned about the report, he lashed out, accusing Alexandra of being disloyal and claiming that the protagonist was trying to sabotage their family. Nathan's manipulative tendencies came to the forefront as he attempted to twist the narrative, portraying himself as the victim and painting Alexandra as ungrateful for the life he provided. This reaction only reinforced the protagonist's belief that he had made the right choice. Nathan's inability to take responsibility for his actions was a clear indication of the toxic environment Alexandra and their child were trapped in. The family's response was equally tumultuous. Nathan's parents, upon hearing the news, rallied around him, dismissing the report as a baseless attack on their son. They expressed disbelief and anger toward the protagonist, viewing him as the instigator of the chaos. This reaction was disheartening for the protagonist, as it underscored the deep-seated issues within the family dynamic. He had hoped that the report would lead to a constructive dialogue about Nathan's behavior, but instead, it only served to deepen the divide. Despite the immediate backlash, the protagonist felt a sense of empowerment in knowing that he had taken a stand against the abuse. He understood that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but he remained committed to supporting Alexandra and their child from a distance. The decision to report Nathan's behavior marked a pivotal moment in his journey, reinforcing his resolve to prioritize the well-being of those he cared about while safeguarding his own mental health. In the face of adversity, he found strength in his convictions, determined to advocate for a better future for Alexandra and their child, even if it meant navigating the complexities of a toxic family situation. In the aftermath of reporting Nathan's abusive behavior to Child Protective Services, the protagonist found himself engulfed in a whirlwind of emotions. The decision to take a stand had been fraught with uncertainty, and now, as the dust began to settle, he was forced to confront the backlash that ensued from his family. Nathan's anger was palpable, and it reverberated through the family, creating a toxic atmosphere that left the protagonist feeling isolated and vulnerable. Family members rallied around Nathan, dismissing the report as a malicious attack on their son. They bombarded the protagonist with accusations, labeling him a traitor and insisting that he had overstepped his bounds. This backlash took an emotional toll on him, reigniting feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt that he had worked so hard to overcome. The protagonist felt the weight of their disapproval pressing down on him, and for a moment, he questioned whether he had made the right choice. The emotional turmoil was overwhelming. He oscillated between guilt for disrupting the family dynamic and a fierce conviction that he had acted in the best interest of Alexandra and their child. The fear of losing the fragile connections he had begun to rebuild in Denver loomed large, and he grappled with the loneliness that came from standing up against his family. Yet, amidst the chaos, unexpected sources of support began to emerge, providing him with a glimmer of hope. Friends who had witnessed the deterioration of Nathan's behavior rallied around the protagonist, offering words of encouragement and validation. They expressed admiration for his courage in taking a stand, reminding him that he had acted out of love and concern for Alexandra and their child. This support was a lifeline, reinforcing the notion that he was not alone in his fight against the toxicity that had plagued his family. Additionally, he found solace in online communities where individuals shared similar experiences of confronting abusive relationships. These connections provided him with a sense of belonging and understanding, reminding him that his decision, while difficult, was rooted in a desire to protect those who could not protect themselves. As the protagonist navigated the emotional fallout from the report, he began to experience a newfound clarity regarding his own mental health. The turmoil he faced from his family's backlash forced him to confront the complexities of his relationships and the impact they had on his well-being. He realized that he could no longer allow the toxic dynamics of his family to dictate his self-worth or happiness. This epiphany was liberating. It marked a turning point in his journey towards self-acceptance and healing. With this clarity came a renewed commitment to prioritize his mental health. He began to set firmer boundaries with his family, recognizing that he had the right to protect himself from their negativity. Therapy sessions became a sanctuary where he could process his feelings and reinforce his resolve to stay true to himself. He learned to embrace the discomfort that came with standing up for what was right, understanding that personal growth often requires navigating through pain and uncertainty. The protagonist's decision to report Nathan's behavior, while fraught with challenges, ultimately became a catalyst for his transformation. He emerged from the experience with a stronger sense of identity and purpose, determined to advocate for those in need while safeguarding his own mental well-being. The emotional toll of the backlash was significant, but it also illuminated the importance of surrounding himself with supportive individuals who uplifted him. In choosing to take a stand, he not only sought to protect Alexandra and their child, but also embarked on a journey of self-discovery that would empower him to reclaim his narrative and embrace a future defined by resilience and authenticity. As we reflect on the protagonist's journey, several key takeaways emerge that resonate deeply with the complexities of family dynamics and personal growth. One of the most significant lessons is the importance of setting boundaries. Throughout his experience, the protagonist learned that establishing clear boundaries is essential for maintaining one's mental health and well-being. By distancing himself from toxic relationships, he was able to reclaim his sense of self and prioritize his emotional needs. This realization serves as a powerful reminder that we all have the right to protect ourselves from negativity, even if it comes from those we love. Another crucial takeaway from the protagonist's journey is the emphasis on prioritizing mental health. The emotional toll of navigating family conflicts and toxic environments can be overwhelming, but it is vital to recognize the importance of self-care. The protagonist's commitment to therapy and seeking support from friends and online communities highlights the value of surrounding ourselves with positive influences. By prioritizing mental health, we can cultivate resilience and empower ourselves to face challenges head-on. This journey underscores that taking care of our mental well-being is not a luxury, but a necessity, especially when dealing with difficult family dynamics. As you reflect on the protagonist's story, we encourage you to take a moment to consider your own family dynamics and relationships. Are there areas where you feel overwhelmed or unsupported? Are there boundaries that need to be established to protect your mental health? Engaging in this self-reflection can be a transformative process, allowing you to identify patterns that may be affecting your well-being. Remember, it's okay to seek help and support when navigating these complexities. You are not alone in your struggles, and acknowledging them is the first step toward healing. We invite you to join our community by subscribing to our channel, liking this video, and sharing it with others who may benefit from these real-life stories. Your engagement helps us continue to create content that resonates with individuals facing similar challenges. By sharing your thoughts and experiences in the comments, you contribute to a supportive dialogue that can inspire others to take action in their own lives. Together, we can foster a space where stories of resilience and growth are celebrated, and where individuals feel empowered to prioritize their mental health and well-being. The protagonist's journey serves as a testament to the strength that lies within each of us, reminding us that it is possible to break free from toxic patterns and create a life filled with authenticity and joy. So, take that first step today. Reflect on your relationships, set those boundaries, and prioritize your mental health. We look forward to hearing your thoughts and experiences, and we hope you'll continue to join us on this journey of exploration and empowerment. Thank you for being part of our community, and we can't wait to share more inspiring stories with you in the future.